Hi guys, are you ready for chapter 8? This is it. Literally, that's the name of the chapter. Here we go. Chapter 8, This is It. In the fall of 2003, a new friend came into my life. Yes, Judy was like an adopted aunt. She was older than my own mother and therefore, in my mind, was very seasoned and experienced with life. She had a plethora of degrees, education, and loads of common sense. Before our friendship began, she called me one day with a question that changed my life. I had graduated from college and was still living in the apartments, dreaming about my future. Judy, a resident at the apartment complex I worked at, called me up at the office one day with an unexpected question. "Have you ever considered looking into qualifying for a home?" she asked. "No, not really," I replied. "I doubt we make enough money." "Well, if you don't mind, I'd like to meet with you and your husband to see if you qualify. It can't hurt. Either you'll qualify or you won't." It sounded simple, so our adventure began. As it turned out, we qualified to build a new home. We excitedly met with Judy a couple times a week, looking at builders, floor plans, and lots until we finally found what we were looking for. Nestled right inside a lovely cul-de-sac was the lot for our future home. I was now 22 years old, had a bachelor's degree, and was about to build my first home. Life was looking good. Judy was very impressed with my husband's and mine ability to accomplish so much at such a young age. We had excellent credit, a great savings built up, and we could now invest our money and begin preparing for a family. Remember my mentioning of God putting the right people in your life at the right time? Well, Judy was one of those people. It was Judy's pursuit of helping us look for a home that helped us realize we had greatly underestimated ourselves. We had made some good financial decisions over the few years of our marriage, and our patience and dedication to saving had paid off. This surreal realization led from one thing to another, and we decided to explore other areas that we had underestimated ourselves in. Truly, this began what I like to call my "this is it" era of our life. My husband began to explore his own business ventures, as did I. We had dreams and goals, and we could certainly reach them faster if we had an additional source of income. For me, it was about the satisfaction of starting a business and watching it turn into something, just like planting a seed and watching it grow into a plant that produces delicious fruit. It was an exciting feeling to have an idea, put effort into it, see other people appreciate it, and know that I had done it all on my own. Knowing I had something in which I could call the shots on gave me some control, made going to my day job much easier to endure. Now, here is the part where I can laugh at myself and not feel so ashamed. I have kept a list of all my dreams, ideas, inventions, and businesses that I had hoped for or dabbled in over the years from childhood until now. Some of them were dreams I grew out of, and others were just not profitable, required too much startup costs, or someone else ended up beating my husband and I to the punch. I keep this list handy to remind myself of all the many times I have tried and all the many times I have said, "This is it. This is the golden ticket." It's not a reminder of failures to me. It's actually a reminder of how much I have been successful at trying. And sooner or later, my efforts are bound to pay off. Here is my list in chronological order. 1990. I wanted to be a cartoonist. I wrote 2 cartoon sketches and 1 episode for a family sitcom. One of the cartoons was about a family that lived in the jungle, kind of like Swiss Family Robinson meets the Flintstones. I was young and not sure what to do with my ideas. Eventually, I moved on to other dreams. 1995. I wanted to be a model. A woman I looked up to told me I could be one. My dad and I ended up getting scammed by a local modeling agency, and he had to pay them thousands of dollars since he had signed a contract without reading the fine print. I went on to modeling in a runway show through the Decca Club at the Target in Sandy, Utah, and a fashion show at my high school. I realized later that this was no longer my dream. 1996. I wanted to start my own magazine about music and fashion, as well as a record company. I was a teenager, and this just made sense. As I grew up, my priorities changed, and this was no longer my dream. 1999. I wanted to design a line of modest clothing. It seemed to be difficult to find with the styles that year. I remember sketching a style of capri pants that had bloomers sewn inside of them so that the lacy, frilly bottoms of the bloomers showed about 4 to 6 inches out from the ends of the capri pants. I thought it looked cute. A couple years later, I began to see capri pants with lacy and frilly trim in all the stores. I also wanted to start a trend with long flowing ribbons flowing from hair, from clothing, even from purses. I know, very strange. Eventually, this too was no longer a dream, and lines of modest clothing began to come forth. 2001. My husband was starting an online translation company called Translations Worldwide. Companies could contract out his services for their needs. He had a lot of foreign exchange friends and thought that this could be a great college job for them. Because he was too busy with school, he put it on the back burner until eventually it faded away. Again, we changed our focus. 2002. I wanted to open a family counseling center and practice a new kind of therapy that I had created. It was centered on the concept of families that play together, stay together. I wanted families to work out their issues through play therapy. I felt that families who couldn't get along typically didn't have the relationship where the father threw around a football with the kids after school and the whole family played games of hide and go seek and made homemade ice cream together. I wanted to teach families how to play together and build bonding and trust. I was going to build a giant center with an indoor play gym and each year select a family that had made the most progress and send them on a trip to Disneyland. I was studying family studies and social work in school, and I befriended a family therapist at my job who believed I could do it. No one took me seriously because I was a 21-year-old college student, so I replaced this dream with another. 2003. My husband and I wrote a business concept for a German fast food franchise. With him being German, his mother being a very talented German cook, and my passion for cooking, it seemed to be a this is it idea. We felt it would be well received to have a fast food shop with a fresh German bakery inside. Instead of burgers and fries, we would sell bratwursts, schnitzel, potato salads, and sauerkraut. There would also be a cute little bakery with fresh German bread, rolls, and German desserts. The inside and outside decor would be in German-style architecture with hanging flower baskets and a little modern touch. Whenever we asked influential friends, investors, and colleagues to critique it and steer us in the right direction, we usually never heard back from them, and they began to avoid us. We then learned that the success rate for startup restaurants was very bleak, and people didn't want to encourage us down that path, especially since we were young college students with no business experience. So we walked away from our beloved idea, feeling that it wasn't right at this time in our lives. 2004. My husband invented a solution to ugly window wells. Plastic window well inserts in the look of stone, brick, and wood. They would easily clip onto your window well and provide a more appealing ambiance in your basement. We researched it and then wrote up a business plan. I took it to small business development groups for analyzing feedback and investment inquiries, and we were on our way. We were going to market them to builders, home shows, and get them into Home Depot stores. Then one day, while driving down the freeway, we saw a billboard with our product on it. There it was. Our jaws dropped. Someone had just beaten us to the punch. We were devastated. 2005. I wanted to be a songwriter. I wrote and recorded 2 songs and entered them into the worldwide VH1 Save the Music contest. I won honorable mention and runner-up. I then went on a journey of trying to sell them to artists. I finally came to a realization that the messages in these songs were not the best messages that I could be sending to young people. The lyrics were fun and catchy, but songs about misbehaving boyfriends and young infatuation did not reflect my desire to positively influence the world. I felt I could use my time and talents to promote values of more importance to the Lord. 2006. My husband and I were looking for places to advertise our yard sale when it occurred to us that we should create a yard sale website. It would be a free website where people all over the country could list their yard sales. Those searching for certain items or yard sales in their area could type in their address and a map would pop up displaying all the yard sales within a 50-mile radius. It would offer details of each yard sale and directions. You could print out one sheet of paper containing the addresses and map rather than bringing along your newspaper. I have to say, this was right before everyone had a smartphone. 1 month later, we saw a billboard for this very idea. Again, someone beat us to the punch. 2007. We wanted to bring snow to Utah all year round. One day, we created a business plan for an indoor ski hill to be built in Park City or Deer Valley, Utah. It contained shops, food eateries, and a sledding hill. We thought it would be a great way to boost tourism in the summer. Utah is known to have the best snow on earth, and we wanted to build on that reputation. We contacted some investors and never heard back. My husband and I began to feel frustrated. So many great ideas would haunt us in our dreams, pop into our minds during the day, and we felt they were of divine inspiration. Then, when they didn't seem to work out, or someone else beat us to it, we were left confused about why we felt so good about these ideas. Our time had been wasted, all that work for nothing. Well, we were very wrong. Subheading: Changing my perspective on failure. I am a firm believer that everything happens for a reason. Sometimes we are tested with a great idea or opportunity just to see if we will act upon it. However, the timing may not be right. We are being prepared for something else down the road. Sometimes we are tested just to see how strong our faith is and how dedicated we are, again, to prepare us for something down the road. Sometimes there is a certain skill we need or a lesson that must be learned to, again, prepare us for something down the road. When we understand that all things happen for our benefit, and we trust in the Lord, then we can accept what we have termed as failures, knowing that in the end, it will all work out and we will be happy. As you can see, I have been on a lifelong roller coaster of this is it to thanks anyways, Lord. I have become immune to failures. I can now laugh at them and try to find the humor. It wasn't always that way though. In the next chapters, I'll elaborate. Something important I have learned from all of this is patience and to turn each failure into a learning experience. In fact, instead of calling them failures, I began to call them lessons. Instead of saying, I failed at that, I'd say, I learned from that. Each failure taught me something incredibly valuable, and by recognizing this, I could see the hand of God in my life in situations where most people would have felt abandoned by Him. The more I recognized the hand of God in these lessons, the more grateful I was for them and the more blessed I became. I realized what I wanted wasn't necessarily what the Lord wanted for me at the time. As long as I stayed grateful, positive, and lived righteously, I would always be happy. Patience is a key player in the formula for success. That was something I needed to learn, and I found that staying positive actually helped the time go by faster. It's clear to me that failure only happens when you lose your willpower to continue trying. You may experience many obstacles on your path toward your goals. However, It doesn't mean by getting stuck in an obstacle you have failed. There is more than one road that leads to where you want to go. You just need to get creative and hold on to your faith. You can still go the same direction, just by a different means. It's even okay to take a break and wait for the obstacles to clear the road. I have done that many times. If we let the obstacles get the best of us, then it was our choice to fail, not fate. A quote from Thomas Edison. Discontent is the first necessity of progress. Show me a thoroughly satisfied man, and I'll show you a failure. As an inventor, Thomas Edison made 1,000 unsuccessful attempts at inventing the light bulb. When a reporter asked, "How did it feel to fail 1,000 times?" Edison replied, "I didn't fail 1,000 times. The light bulb was an invention with 1,000 steps." Milton Hershey of the famed Hershey's chocolates was fired from his job as a printer, then went on to start and lose 3 candy companies and file for personal bankruptcy before finally starting the company that he became famous for. I remember learning about these 2 remarkable men and their experiences years ago. In the back of my mind, their examples have always led me to believe that failure is just a stepping stone on the path toward success. A quote from President Thomas S. Monson. Our responsibility is to rise from mediocrity to competence, from failure to achievement. Our task is to become our best selves. One of God's greatest gifts to us is the joy of trying again, for no failure ever need be final. It's important to never leave God out of the equation. He can make our weaknesses become strengths. One of my favorite scriptures says this best. Ether chapter 12 verse 27. And if men come unto me, I will show unto them their weakness. I give unto men weakness that they may be humble. And my grace is sufficient for all men that humble themselves before me. For if they humble themselves before me and have faith in me, then will I make weak things become strong unto them. What we can learn from these words of the Lord is that we should be grateful for trials, challenges, struggles, and weaknesses. These imperfections help us become humble so that we can be better suited to serve the Lord. Humility is key. I believe that God needs humble and compassionate people to help do His work. He often blesses these people knowing that in return they will bless others. All too often, our failures are a test. We are tested to show the Lord our level of endurance and faith. He needs faithful and enduring people to do His work and bless others. If we fail to learn from our trials and errors, then we truly fail. We may continue receiving trials and challenges until we learn what we are supposed to, until our weaknesses become strengths. To some, the Lord gives great talents and gifts. They choose to use them for good or bad. If our desires and intentions are to do good, then our talents will remain with us and will be strengthened. On the contrary, those who fail to use their talents, especially to do good, often lose them. Humility can teach us great lessons and change the very core of our being. Milton Hershey went on to use his wealth to establish a school for orphaned boys known as the Milton Hershey School. In 1935, he gave each of the 5 churches in Hershey a gift of $20,000, a gift that helped many of the churches pay off debts they had incurred during the Great Depression. By the end of his life, Hershey had donated most of his money to his town and the school he built. Milton S. Hershey proved himself to be a courageous entrepreneur, a determined builder, and a compassionate humanitarian. The Lord knows what we need, and He desires to bless us with what we ask for. When opposition comes your way, don't look at it as something final. If something feels right and it's not working out, the timing may be off. When I get a good feeling from the Lord about an opportunity to pursue and it falls apart in my lap, it doesn't mean the Lord let me down. I might have needed to learn or gain something from that experience, and that is why I felt good about doing it. getting a good feeling doesn't always mean the result will be what you had in mind. If I stay true to my values and faith, then I know the Lord has my back, even when things don't go as planned. And that's the end of the chapter. Okay, I have to say, since 2013, since putting out this book, there have been so many other ideas that have come into my mind. Some of them I took all the way to outsourcing production and marketing companies and investing a great chunk of money into, only to find out after a year or two, it just wasn't working out. There wasn't enough help or support or passion from the people and agencies that I outsourced, that I hired. In fact, there is one idea that I had a sample made of, and the whole idea came about because it was something that I needed that hadn't been invented. It solved a major problem in my home. So I paid a freelance engineer back east to design this concept for me. He created all the drawings, and he even had a 3D model made so that I could use it and take that to show other people. I went and took that 3D model and hired some agencies who were supposed to help me get this going, and of course that didn't work out. It ended up being the same experience I've had so many other times, where you invest in your product and you pay someone to help you get it going, and they end up dragging their feet to the point where so many months have gone by that you start to lose that passion and you wonder, why am I even doing this? Is it worth it? Now, I'm not going to tell you what that product is because maybe one day I'll try it again. I was going to apply for a patent, and then life got crazy, so that's still hanging. But anytime people come over to my home and they notice this one item in my kitchen, they tell me, hey, I need that. Where did you get that? Where can I get one of those? And I have to tell them, you can't. Sorry, it doesn't exist. You're looking at the only one in the whole world. I have to say that in 2026, at this point in my life, I have definitely slowed down when it comes to inventions and ideas. A couple of years ago, I created a whole bunch of designs for Latter-day Saint jewelry, and I still have those drawings. I put out that first line, and it did pretty well, but for me, it's just the time that goes into marketing and promoting and running a business that I just don't have a lot of. I always wish I had a clone, I had a twin, someone who had the same dream, desire, and passion that I do and could help execute a lot of these ideas. But when you're trying to do it all by yourself and run a household and raise children, it gets to be tricky. So I always tell people, I think this is just a symptom of ADHD. It can be a blessing and a curse, but you have ideas constantly going through your mind, thoughts, hundreds and thousands of thoughts that pour into your mind every day, every week. And for me, I feel like I have to write them down. And if possible, I have to try to get them out of my head and share them with someone, or I can feel frustrated. It's sort of a blessing and a curse. And it's been that way with music. I hear songs all the time coming into my mind, but I think, oh, I don't have the time to sit down and figure this out and pay someone to get it out of my head and turn it into something. I used to do that, and I had a lot of fun doing that, but I no longer have the time. I think at the time that I wrote this book, I had the mindset, multiple streams of income, that's what makes a person successful. But now, all of these years later, I have found that if you just have one thing that you do really well, that you're really passionate about, and you stick to it, and you use it to do a lot of good in the world while still prioritizing your family and your home, that's admirable. I would call that a success and just stick with it. And even if your ideas never turn into anything, but you're committed to your family and your home, that to me is just as successful. You can be just as proud of yourself, and I truly mean that. Anyways, if you can relate, I would love to hear your experiences. Share down below. Thanks for joining me today, you guys. I hope you enjoyed that chapter, and I will see you next week for chapter 9. Hi, I'm Lindsey Rietzsch, the creator of Hydro Heal, a product that's been changing dry skin for almost 2 decades. I created Hydro Heal back in 2008 as a solution for my own dry feet. Countless pedicures and dermatologist visits weren't making a difference. And who has the time or energy for this method? Word on the street spread, and Hydro Heal gained the attention of Shark Tank investors and venture capitalists launching it on a nationwide TV campaign, gaining interest and attention from celebrities on live TV. See it to believe it demos and try before you buy? Put Hydro Heal in the spotlight, selling out of product at every show. After my feet were transformed, I decided to test it on eczema, dry lips and hands, athlete's foot, and cradle cap. And the results were incredible. Brand new skin in just 7 days. But it gets even better. Hydro Heal was also tested on a recovering hospital patient with an ongoing leg wound that would not close. After 3 days, this was the result. A wound that closed, healthy skin, and doctors were amazed. So how does Hydro Heal work? It's a solid ointment made from natural ingredients that turns into a liquid on contact with your skin, seeping down into deep cracks, while acting like a bandage, creating an invisible barrier on the surface, protecting your skin from outside elements, allowing it to naturally repair from the inside out. Start feeling more comfortable in your skin today, because everyone should love their skin. Click down below for a special offer or visit hydroheal.com.